At the wedding ceremony, my groom was about to abandon me and go to his first love. He said, "Yvonne, I have to go to the hospital right away. Luna cut her wrists and tried to commit suicide. She's currently in the emergency room, and her family isn't here. I must rush over to check on her." I looked up at Wayne's expression. He looked very worried. Although my reflection was in his clear eyes at this moment, the person he was thinking about wholeheartedly was someone else entirely. I slightly raised the corners of my mouth and said in a gentle and calm voice, "You can go." Wayne looked surprised with disbelief in his eyes and asked, "You agreed?" "Yvonne, wait for me for an hour. Once I make sure Luna is okay, I'll come back quickly." Wayne ran towards the door. On the way, still feeling uneasy, he turned around on purpose and emphasized it several times. "Yvonne, you have to wait for me. 1 hour, and I'll be back right away." I kept smiling. After Wayne's figure disappeared, I directly took the microphone from the host and announced that the wedding was cancelled. The guests in the audience were in an uproar, all with expressions of watching a drama unfold. Especially when Wayne left the wedding venue, many people were so shocked that their mouths opened wide. "Damn it! The groom has run away." It's like a scene from a TV show coming to life. Wayne's parents' faces were extremely embarrassed. His mother scolded reproachfully, "My son is really something. He must have had an urgent matter. Yvonne, don't be angry for now. When he comes back, I'll scold him for you." I walked towards the master of ceremonies with a normal expression, took the microphone from his hand, and said, "The groom is rushing to see his ex-girlfriend now. The wedding is cancelled." As soon as these words came out, Wayne's parents' faces looked even worse than if they were constipated. Wayne's mother put on a stern face and said, "Yvonne, it's not good if you say it like this and let others misunderstand. What ex-girlfriend or not? I know Wayne. He must have encountered something important. Otherwise, he wouldn't have left halfway through." As she said that, she also wanted to pull me back onto the stage, hoping that I could salvage her son's reputation. I pulled my hand out forcefully. "Mrs. Wayne, I think it's better if we become strangers from now on." Wayne's mother didn't expect me to say that and frowned. "What are you talking about? The wedding has already started. How can you cancel it just like that? What will all these relatives think? Besides, your family has already received 660,000 yuan as the betrothal gift from our family. What else do you want to do if you don't marry my son? Relatives by marriage, you should discipline your daughter. She's so thoughtless." My mother's face didn't look good either. For her, it must be a very embarrassing thing that her daughter was left behind by the groom at the wedding. She has always cared about face. This time, since Wayne had humiliated her so much, she definitely wouldn't let me marry him again. She forced a bank card into Wayne's mother's hand. "There's 660,000 yuan in it. Take it and leave quickly. I'll hire a lawyer to take back the dowry I prepared for my daughter." Only then did Wayne's mother remember that compared to the 660,000 yuan betrothal gift, my dowry was even more valuable. There was a car worth 500,000 yuan and a house in the city center. According to the initial agreement, once I got married to Wayne and got the marriage certificate, Wayne's name would be added to the house. I raised my eyebrows and gestured to Wayne's mother. "I didn't get married to Wayne. From now on, I have nothing to do with your family." Wayne's mother's face turned pale. She didn't expect me to be so ruthless and gritted her teeth and cursed, "You're such a used woman. Let's see who will be willing to marry you in the future." I don't need them to worry about who will marry me in the future. As for Wayne, I hope he and his ex are tied together forever so that he won't come out and harm others. This kind of situation has happened in my life more than once. Just 3 days ago, while we were choosing wedding dresses, Wayne received a phone call. He made an excuse that there was something going on at the company and left in a hurry. He didn't know that actually, I heard a familiar voice from his phone call. She sounded so pitiful that it made people want to protect her. This voice belonged to his first love and also his ex-girlfriend, Luna. Every time she called Wayne crying, Wayne would abandon me. Even this wedding ceremony was no exception. My best friend angrily stood up for me. What's wrong with Wayne? Did he go to find that Luna again? Luna cut her wrists and tried to commit suicide. When my best friend heard this, she became even angrier. Cut her wrists and tried to commit suicide? Even a fool knows that she did it on purpose. Snatching the groom away at someone else's wedding ceremony. How shameless. Besides playing these petty tricks to make people uncomfortable, what else can she do? I sneered, as long as it works on Wayne. It always works, no matter how many times she tries. My best friend's expression suddenly looked as uncomfortable as if she had swallowed half a fly. They're such a pair of scumbags. You won't forgive Wayne again this time, will you? My best friend was so frustrated with me. Yvonne, if you forgive him again this time, you might as well bump your head against a block of tofu and die. I suddenly laughed. What are you thinking? I've already announced that the wedding is cancelled. How could I still be willing to be with him? My best friend narrowed her eyes and looked at me for a while, then said in a suspicious tone, Really? Then why did you forgive him before? I was silent for a few seconds and said softly, Maybe it's because of unwillingness. Yeah, unwillingness. He was really nice to me before. But why did he change his heart later? Wayne and I had been together for 5 years. When he was good to me, he was really good. He picked me up from work and dropped me off regardless of the weather. On holidays, he carefully prepared gifts and red envelopes for me. He remembered my menstrual period and prepared brown sugar water and warm patches for me. When I was sick, he took care of me all night beside my bed. I always thought that I was in his future. However, when he didn't love me anymore, he really didn't love me at all. It's obvious whether you love someone or not. I could clearly feel that his attitude towards me became more and more perfunctory and indifferent. From taking the initiative to prepare surprises for me to getting impatient when I asked him a few more questions. And all of this started when his first love, Luna, returned to the country. On the first night when Luna returned to the country, he was absent-minded. When I said a few words to him, he suddenly lost his temper and said impatiently, Why are you so noisy? After saying that, he himself also realized that something was wrong with his state and quickly apologized, Sorry, I was just thinking about work matters just now. At first, I believed his excuse. Later, I accidentally heard him talking on the phone with his brother and then found out that what was bothering him was not work but his first love. At that time, his heart had already started to waver. Luna was his first love, the love in their school days. Although it was childish, it was unforgettable. It seemed to be the case for Wayne and Luna. Even after so many years, as soon as he heard the news that Luna had returned to the country, the affection he had for her in his youth couldn't help but resurface. I had never asked too much about Wayne's ex-girlfriend before. I thought that constantly asking about your partner's ex was a very stupid thing to do and would only make myself feel bad. But I didn't expect that this ex-girlfriend would be like a cancer, standing between us, unable to be removed but with a strong sense of presence. When Luna returned to the country, Wayne and I had already been together for 5 years. How many 5 years are there in one's life? During my most beautiful years, I had always been with Wayne. It was precisely because we had loved each other before that I felt so unwilling when I found out that he had changed his heart. Therefore, after Wayne left me several times and chose to comfort Luna, I still agreed to marry him. I wanted to make myself completely give up hope and see if he would abandon me again. I knew Luna's character. She definitely wouldn't want our wedding to be held smoothly. I won the bet, but I also lost it. I opened my phone, and there were pages of call records on it, all from Wayne. Besides the phone, he also contacted me on every social media platform. It seemed that he was very anxious. Yvonne, please listen to my explanation. Yvonne, why did you cancel the wedding? Where have you gone? Well, if this wedding is cancelled, I'll hold an even more grand wedding for you next time. At first, he was still explaining. Later, seeing that I didn't reply at all, his attitude also became a little irritable. Where are you? Why don't you answer my phone calls? I've already explained it to you. Luna has depression. She cut her wrists and tried to commit suicide and is now in the hospital. How can you not understand me at all? How could I not understand him? Knowing that he still liked Luna, I directly stepped aside to let them be together. In this world, there's probably no current partner as nice as me, right? I completely deleted all of Wayne's contact information, blocked and deleted everything in one go. Delete what should be deleted, and let bygones be bygones. However, Wayne didn't have the awareness of being a qualified ex. 3 days after the wedding was cancelled, he actually came to find me again. He looked a bit pained, his eyes fixed tightly on my face, and his voice sounded a bit hoarse and aggrieved. Yvonne, do you really not want me anymore? I found it a bit funny. Was it necessary to put on this affectionate look now? I glanced at him coldly. Wasn't it you who left the wedding venue first? Wayne stepped forward and wanted to hold my hand, but I dodged it. His expression was shocked for a moment, as if he didn't expect that I would really be so cold. This was the first time that I had treated him so coldly and straightforwardly. Feelings will eventually wear out. Now, Wayne is even less than a stranger in my eyes, so naturally, I'm too lazy to give him a good look. Let's part on good terms. Since Luna can't do without you, you can get back together with her. Wayne's eyes were a bit red, his expression was downcast, and he scratched his hair irritably. Yvonne, there's really nothing between me and Luna. I don't like her anymore. Yvonne, the person I like now is only you. As for Luna, I just felt sorry for her. She's here alone, and she can only come to me when something happens. What else could I do? I raised my eyes and looked at him as he tried his best to explain and persuade me to stay, but my heart didn't waver at all. My affection for him probably had been completely worn out when he left in the middle of the wedding. I said in a flat tone, since you feel sorry for her, then just be with her. The next day, perhaps Wayne was still unwilling to let go, or maybe he felt humiliated. Now, among the people around, he was the scumbag who went to find his ex-girlfriend at the wedding venue and received a lot of criticism. And the best way to get rid of this criticism was naturally to hold another wedding with me. So that night, when I got home late at night, Wayne was still waiting stubbornly at the door. Are you crazy? I couldn't help scolding. Waiting at my door late at night, just in case, I quietly turned on the voice recording on my phone. Wayne looked haggard, with a hoarse voice. Yvonne, I've been waiting for you all night. There was an indescribable sense of grievance in his tone, as if he was the victim. Every time he abandoned me to take care of his first love, perhaps knowing that he was in the wrong, he would always take preemptive action, seize the moral high ground, and then start to blame me instead. I looked cold and asked rhetorically, why are you waiting for me? We have nothing to do with each other now. Wayne pleaded, looking very humble and helpless. Yvonne, can't you really give me another chance? That day, Luna's condition was really serious, and I had no choice but to go. And after seeing her, I rushed back to find you immediately. But unexpectedly, you cancelled the wedding. I sneered and interrupted him directly, with the groom absent. Was there any need to continue with the wedding? Also, you rushed back so quickly. Was it because you were worried when I didn't reply to your messages? Wayne and I had been together for 5 years. I probably knew him better than his parents. If I had answered his call before, he would definitely have stayed by her bedside under Luna's pleading. He could never bear to see Luna cry. Whenever Luna cried, his heart ached. Just like at the previous wedding, as soon as he received Luna's call, his face immediately turned pale with fear. As an adult, how could he not know what it meant to abandon the bride at the wedding venue? But he still left without hesitation. Because he was worried about that possibility, in case something really happened to Luna. When he turned around and left, it clearly showed that in his heart, Luna was more important than me. Wayne pursed his lips, his tone weakened a bit, and he looked up at me. Luna really tried to commit suicide and bled a lot. His affectionate eyes contained complex emotions, as if they could drown me in them. In the past, whenever I saw him like this, I would subconsciously forgive him, thinking that he really had no choice. But this time, I carefully examined his gaze for a while and then smiled. It's good to have expressive eyes. Look, even though he didn't love me anymore, he could still pretend to be deeply affectionate. I curled the corners of my mouth and said, "What does that have to do with me?" Wayne was stunned. He didn't expect me to say such heartless words and angrily accused, "Yvonne, how could you become so cruel now? The wedding can be held at any time, but there's only one life. I've explained it to you so many times. Luna is all alone in this city and doesn't have many friends. When something happens to her, she can only come to me. Now that she's sick and still needs our care, how can you be so indifferent?" I looked at him in surprise and my heart suddenly skipped a beat. What did he mean? She still needed our care? Could it be that he still intended to let me take care of Luna? I asked in disbelief, "Do you still want me to help you take care of her?" Wayne nodded and said naturally, "You're sort of my wife. It's only right for you to take care of my friend." What he said made me not know where to start complaining for a moment. Looking at Wayne's self-righteous look, I chuckled and said, "Since you care so much about Luna, why don't you care about her as her husband? Wouldn't that be better? Then it would be convenient whether in bed or out of bed." While Wayne was shocked, I pushed him aside directly, then closed the door and shut him outside. Wayne came to his senses and quickly kept knocking on the door. "Yvonne, let me in first. You've misunderstood. I really have nothing to do with Luna anymore. The person I like is only you." I knew why he cared so much about Luna but still clung to me tightly. He had said more than once that I was his ideal wife. At first, when I heard this, I felt very happy. But after understanding the underlying meaning of these words, all I felt was disgust. An ideal wife wasn't that just asking me to be a good helper at home, taking care of the family and his parents, so that he could work without any worries at the back, while also not interfering with his female friends outside. I opened the door and threatened coldly, "If you knock on the door again, I'll call the police." At this time, the door of the next room opened, and a young man walked out. He was even taller than the 1.8-meter tall Wayne by a head. He had sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. The collar of his shirt was slightly open, faintly revealing his smooth and sexy muscle lines. He seemed to have just woken up, frowning and looking very impatient. "What's the noise?" Wayne had an image of being gentle and refined, while the other man was tall and burly, exuding a carefree and ruffian air all over. Just standing face to face, Wayne seemed to have a much weaker presence. Wayne said dissatisfiedly, "I'm talking to my girlfriend." "What's it to you?" It was as if Wayne couldn't understand human language, as if I would still be with him as long as he didn't agree. The man next door curled his lips, exuding wildness and dominance all over. "What's it to me? You're disturbing me." And he looked directly at Wayne and scanned him up and down, then slowly spat out 2 words, "Scumbag. You abandoned your girlfriend at the wedding venue, yet you still have the nerve to come here. You're really thick-skinned." Wayne's face immediately changed. He clenched his fists tightly and said furiously, "Mind your own business." The other man didn't react at all, only showing casual ridicule. Wayne was extremely angry. He was already very unhappy that outsiders had heard such an embarrassing thing about him. Now that the other man was provoking him, the string in his mind completely snapped. He raised his fist and was about to hit the other man in the face. However, he forgot the huge disparity in strength between them. In just a few seconds, he had been knocked to the ground. The other man folded his arms across his chest and looked down at him, commenting righteously, "Weakling." Wayne looked dazed, and his outlook on life seemed to be on the verge of collapse at this moment. This was the first time that someone had called him a weakling. In the past, people around him had always praised him for being gentle and refined. I couldn't help laughing without any intention of hiding it. Wayne looked at me angrily. "Someone treats your boyfriend like this, and you can still laugh?" I wiped away the tears from laughing at the corners of my eyes, took out my phone, turned on the flash, and with a click, took a picture of this wonderful moment. I said slowly, "Not only can I laugh, but I also want to take pictures." Wayne's face gradually became distorted with anger, and he said furiously, "Yvonne, was it on purpose? Did you deliberately let him do this to me?" Speaking of this, Wayne had an expression of sudden realization. "I see. Now I understand why you want to break up with me. So you've already found someone else?" No wonder you canceled the wedding so quickly. Wayne became more and more angry. Perhaps he wanted to find a reasonable outlet for being easily knocked down before. As he talked, he seemed to believe it himself, glaring at me angrily with his eyes. For the first time, I realized that he was actually so shameless. Perhaps most of his gentleness and thoughtfulness in front of me before was just a disguise. Indeed, it's hard to know a person's true nature just by looking at their face. Even a couple who have shared the same bed for 10 years may have different dreams, let alone us who had only been together for 5 years. I shook the photo in my hand. If you come to find me again, be careful that I'll send this photo to others. I knew that there was some chauvinism in Wayne's character. So as soon as he heard me say this, his face immediately changed. Finally, he got up dejectedly and left without looking back. I looked at the man next door a bit awkwardly. Thank you for your help. I had lived here for so long, and it was the first time I had seen him. It turned out that the first meeting was like this, which was really full of drama. The other man pursed his lips, with a lazy and carefree posture. It's nothing. Anyone who sees such a scumbag can't help but want to beat him up. Thank you. I'm Yvonne. After Mike said that, he took out his phone and opened a QR code. Since we're so lucky to meet, let's add each other as friends. Because of what happened last night, I prepared some tiramisu to express my gratitude. Mike took it readily. How did you know I like sweet food? I was a bit stunned. You like sweet food? He didn't seem like that at all. Mike didn't hide his feelings at all and raised his chin. Can I open it now? I chuckled and quickly said, of course you can. A man who looked arrogant and wild liked sweet food. There was a bit of a contrast and cuteness in it. Mike picked up a spoon and scooped up a big piece, exclaiming in amazement, it's sweet but not greasy. It's delicious. The highest praise for a dessert is that it's sweet but not greasy. It's a really happy thing to see the other person enjoying what you've made so much. Unlike Wayne, he has always been very disdainful of desserts. Sometimes he would even complain about why waste time making such things when nobody would eat them. However, he completely ignored the joy I got during the process of making desserts. Seeing that Mike really liked the tiramisu I made, I couldn't help but raise a smile on my face. I'm glad you like it. I usually like making some desserts. I feel that making desserts is a very healing process. Watching some ingredients turn into delicate and lovely shapes in my hands gives me a great sense of accomplishment. Mike blinked his eyes in surprise and said, did you make this tiramisu by yourself? It's even more delicious than the ones I bought outside. I felt a bit embarrassed by his straightforward compliment. I'm glad you like it. If I make desserts in the future, I'll give you a portion. Every time I make desserts, there are usually quite a lot of them. I can't finish them all by myself, and most of the time they go to waste. The corners of Mike's mouth curved up, showing an innocent smile that didn't match his appearance. Really? If you need help with anything in the future, you must come to me. After getting to know Mike, I finally understood why I had never met him before. He's an illustrator. He rests during the day and rushes to finish his drafts at night. The day I met him last time happened to be when he came out to look for inspiration. He was already at a critical moment of lacking inspiration, and then seeing a scumbag made him even more irritable. No wonder I felt something was wrong when I met him later. It turned out that he was in a gloomy mood that night. For some reason, Luna suddenly added me on WeChat. Wayne loves me. As soon as I saw the note on the friend request, I knew who it was. Her words were full of a sense of showing off. I directly chose to delete it, but she kept sending friend requests continuously. Give up. Wayne doesn't like you at all. Wayne is mine. Do you know what Wayne was doing when you were talking about getting married? He was lying beside me. I paused for a moment and couldn't help but click to accept. As soon as the friend request was approved, Luna immediately sent a message smugly. I knew you still cared. I quickly typed, believe it or not, the person Wayne likes is me. With that, I sent her the recording of Wayne begging pitifully at my door last time. A minute later, Luna sent a voice message furiously. That was just him lying to me. The person Wayne likes is me. It's me. What was said in those recordings is all false. Listening to Luna's somewhat crazy voice, I showed a slight smile on my face. Do you have any evidence? Empty words don't count. Of course I do. This is Wayne saying that he likes me in person, and there are photos too. Do you believe it now? Give up. I clicked on the recording, and it was a conversation between Wayne and Luna. Do you still like me? Yes. What about Yvonne? You're getting married now. What should I do? I have no feelings for her, but she's been with me for 5 years, and I don't want to owe her. In a few months, I'll divorce her. At the same time, several intimate photos were also sent. The two of them were lying on the bed together, and faintly, one could see hickey marks on their bodies. I saved the recording and photos one by one and then couldn't be bothered to pay attention to her anymore. However, the more I ignored her, the more energetic she became. She directly sent me a link to her WeChat moments. In it, she and Wayne's mother were holding hands, looking like a mother and daughter. At the same time, the caption read, "I wanted to recognize Auntie as my mother, but Auntie refused, saying that if she recognized a daughter, she wouldn't have a daughter-in-law." Wayne's mother didn't like me very much in the first place. She liked Luna more because Luna was sweet-tongued and good at pleasing people. My best friend couldn't stand it and directly posted 3 comments in her comment section. Haha. Congratulations to the mistress for getting what she wanted. A pair of scumbags, a perfect match. I didn't do much either. I just liked all the comments my best friend made and then commented, "Has the wound from cutting your wrists healed?" A few minutes later, I received an emoji of my best friend laughing wildly from her, and at the same time, a friend request from Wayne, with a note questioning me attached. You clearly knew that Luna was injured. Why did you deliberately rub salt on her wounds? That's really too much. I frowned, refreshing my perception of him once again. Amazing. Even though I had already deleted him as a friend, he could still think of this way to annoy me. I don't know whether to say he's shameless or praise him for being smart. However, he didn't think that was enough. He actually brought Luna and came to find me again. Yvonne, you should have had enough of making a fuss these days, right? It's okay if you lose your temper for a few days, but there's no need to make such a big deal. We still have to get married in the future. Wayne looked affectionate, and his tone was full of helplessness. I couldn't help but sneer. I really didn't know where he got the courage to say this. Wayne continued, I brought Luna here. I really have nothing to do with her. If you don't believe me, you can ask her yourself. Luna said softly and weakly, Yvonne, don't misunderstand. That day, it was really because I was sick that Brother Gu left you to take care of me. Yvonne, I have depression. I didn't want to do that day either. I really didn't mean to ruin your wedding. Wayne looked at Luna, and his eyes were full of heartache for her. Yvonne, you should believe me now, right? Luna has depression and is already so pitiful. I've read about the symptoms of depression. Some people just like to hurt themselves. Watching them echo each other's words, I found it really ridiculous. Depression, what a coincidence. Why does it always happen at a critical moment every time? I said sincerely and considerately, since Luna's condition is so serious, it happens that you can get married. I believe that after you get married, Luna's condition will definitely improve. I'll give you my early congratulations. May you have a harmonious and long marriage. A hint of joy flashed in Luna's eyes, and she looked at Wayne hopefully. But Wayne just frowned. Yvonne, stop making a fuss. I sneered, Wayne, do you really think others are fools? You keep saying that you only like me, but your actions are completely the opposite. Even when you're apologizing now, your words are still full of protection and concern for Luna. Wayne's face changed. Yvonne, why have you become like this? Didn't you say before that you hated using words to hurt others the most? I also said before that I hated scumbags the most. Why didn't you remember that? Wayne hurriedly explained, Yvonne, you really misunderstood me. Before Wayne could finish his words, a mocking voice suddenly came from beside him. Well? Isn't this the weakling from before? Mike curled the corners of his mouth with a hint of scorn, looking at Wayne with a half-smile. Wayne froze for a few seconds and then said furiously, "It's you again?" Mike raised his chin, and the smile on his face disappeared. "Didn't you get enough humiliation last time?" Wayne immediately remembered what happened last time and his face suddenly became very ugly. His originally arrogant expression immediately wilted like a withered cabbage. Luna suddenly said softly and weakly, "Wayne, who is this man? Is he Yvonne's boyfriend? She found a new boyfriend so quickly? And their neighbors. Could it be that they had a relationship before?" As if realizing that she had said something she shouldn't have, Luna quickly covered her mouth nervously. Did I say something I shouldn't have?" Taking the hint, Wayne immediately became furious, glaring with his eyes wide open. "I wondered why this man was so protective of you, Yvonne. So you two have been together for a long time." I felt that Wayne and Luna were really a perfect match. They both couldn't understand human language. I clicked on the recording and photos I saved last time. The ambiguous voices came out from the phone. "Do you like me?" "Yes." Wayne and Luna immediately shut their mouths. Wayne's face turned pale and he glared at Luna with his eyes wide open. "When did you record this? Who asked you to record it?" Luna was so scared that she backed away continuously like a quail. I said coldly, "What? You had the nerve to say these things, but now you don't want others to know?" After Wayne came to find me last time, I had a feeling that he would stick to me like a piece of chewing gum and come to pester me again. So when Luna added me as a friend, I simply irritated her to get evidence of their intimacy. Hearing what I said, Wayne quickly turned to look at me while still talking nonstop. "Yvonne, listen to my explanation. These recordings and photos are not what you think. I was drunk that day. I..." Wayne bent down in pain and covered his stomach, looking angrily at Mike. "Damn it. You actually hit me." Mike lazily lifted his eyelids and said in a deep voice, "You deserved it." "Yvonne, look at how violent this man is. Do you think you can still be with him?" I smiled and said, "Well done." Wayne looked at me quietly for a while and then turned around angrily and left quickly, not even bothering to take care of the physically weak Luna beside him. I looked at her sympathetically and said, "Wish you happiness." Luna's face turned green and then white. Then she showed a smile and said, "Of course I'll be happy." I nodded with a smile on my face. "Better be so. Also, keep a closer eye on your man in the future and don't show up in front of me again." Luna said through gritted teeth, "Don't worry. He won't come to bother you again." I knew that Wayne was unwilling to let go and would surely come to make trouble for me again sooner or later. So this time, I planned to take preemptive action. It was also a chance to give an explanation for that wedding of mine. Because of what Wayne did, I became a bit of a sensation in the local area. Although I became the subject of gossip after people's meals, I was the victim in this matter after all. Since I was the victim, I should stand on the moral high ground. So, I opened my WeChat moments, chose a picture of the groom leaving the wedding halfway through from a movie, and accompanied it with the caption, "What's it like to have a boyfriend who's like a living Buddha?" My boyfriend was busy taking care of his ex-girlfriend during our wedding. The giant Buddha of Leshan would probably say, "Ba," when seeing this. How despicable is this ex-girlfriend? As an ex, she popped up out of nowhere when others were getting married. You guys are too naive. She must have done this kind of thing often before. Naturally, there were people who had attended the wedding in my WeChat moments. Many of them came out to testify based on what they had seen, and some even posted videos. I was at the scene at that time and was completely shocked. I'm disgusted. This man is so disgusting. Are all of his ex-girlfriend's family members dead? Did he have to go and take care of her? Perhaps because the matter was so controversial, I quickly became popular. Some people even moved the videos to the internet. I knew that as long as I mentioned this matter in my WeChat moments, it would definitely become popular. After all, there were quite a number of enthusiastic onlookers in my WeChat moments who loved to watch the excitement and didn't mind if things got bigger. For a while, everyone around me knew about this matter. People around Wayne naturally knew about it too. I heard that his boss even talked to him and asked him to take a break for a while. When I saw Wayne again, he obviously looked much more haggard. Yvonne, how could you talk about this matter in your WeChat moments? Do you know what my colleagues and friends think of me? My life has been completely ruined by you now. I looked at him innocently. I didn't expect things to turn out like this either. I just posted a caption in my WeChat moments. Wayne's face froze for a moment. Realizing that it really couldn't be blamed on me, he then said, then go to your WeChat moments. No, go directly to the internet and help me clarify things. I showed a teasing smile and said lightly, you're dreaming. This was exactly the effect I wanted. There was no way I would go online to explain. Wayne was stunned for a moment. He looked at me angrily, and his tone was full of accusations and dissatisfaction. Yvonne, why have you become so heartless? I've finally seen your true face clearly. You really disappoint me. Fortunately, I didn't marry you. What man would be willing to marry a vicious woman like you? Looking at Wayne, who was talking to himself, I found it really ridiculous in my heart. I raised my hand, intending to slap him. After pausing for a moment halfway, I picked up a book from beside me and fanned it on his face. It would hurt my hand if I slapped him. Using a book was just right. Smack. The sound was very crisp. Wayne's expression was a bit dazed, and then he glared with his eyes wide open, his face full of gloomy resentment. Just you wait. After throwing down these words, he left angrily. I couldn't help scolding, psycho. I was really blind before. He looked decent before, but turned out to be such a scumbag. Sometimes I really had to admire him. He was really good at pretending. However, fortunately, some people only see their partner's true face after getting married. At least I saw it before getting married. That's the silver lining in this misfortune. 2 days later, I finally understood what Wayne meant by just you wait. There were some inexplicable remarks on the internet. Some were even in the tone of whistleblowers. Don't be deceived by this woman. The truth is not what you see. I know this woman. In fact, she's already had an ambiguous relationship with another man. That man even lives next door to her. I don't believe there's nothing going on between them. This is just a case of being blind to what's close at hand. It's right for the groom to run away halfway through the wedding. Unexpectedly, there's a plot twist in this matter. I originally thought the groom was a scumbag, but it turns out that the bride was the one who cheated. If I were in that situation, I would also run away from the wedding halfway through and take revenge on that woman harshly. At the same time, some so-called friends of Luna also came out to testify, saying that she was Wayne's first love and that they were a model couple in school back then. They also said how much Wayne loved her. First, they smeared me and then they advocated the theory of true love. I have to say that after this set of combined punches, one couldn't withstand it without decades of fighting skills. I smiled. I didn't expect Wayne to be so impatient. I guessed that the large number of abusive and harassing text messages I received in recent days had a lot to do with Wayne and Luna. I quickly saved the remarks of the rumormongers and then contacted a lawyer to issue a lawyer's letter online. When I was about to go to the police station with the list of rumormongers, I happened to meet Mike, who was about to go out. I greeted him, "Are you going out?" Mike replied with a and said in a cold tone, "Going to the police station. I'm also a victim. Don't worry. None of those rumormongers will escape." I asked a friend who's good at computers to investigate the information of those rumormongers. "I don't know if it'll be useful to you." I thanked him, "Thank you. With this information, it should be possible to file a case quickly." This matter didn't have much to do with Mike. Only, the man next door was mentioned on the internet. Actually, he didn't need to take it to heart at all. Mike looked up and smiled, "As long as it's useful." I don't know if it was my illusion, but I always felt that he deliberately found this information for me. When we arrived at the police station, I finally confirmed my thought. The things on the internet didn't constitute rumors for Mike at all. He just mentioned it casually and then didn't say anything more. So, he came to the police station with me on purpose. On the way back, I hesitated and said, "Let me treat you to a meal." "Thank you very much this time." Mike's voice was low and magnetic. "Just treat me to tiramisu." I thought for a few seconds and said, okay. Then the next day, under his surprised gaze, I gave him a whole table full of tiramisu and other desserts. Mike smiled helplessly. You're trying to sweeten me to death. For things like online rumors, the most difficult part is to know the information of netizens. Now that we know their real situations, things will be much easier. Soon, the police investigated and found out that these netizens had received money from Wayne, and the number of times they had spread rumors and forwarded them exceeded 500 times, which had already constituted a crime. Finally, Wayne was sentenced to 6 months in prison for fabricating facts and seriously slandering others. When he learned of this result, he almost went crazy. It was just saying a few words on the internet. How could it be so serious? He was not convinced and even wanted to drag me down with him. I'm going to sue Yvonne too. She violated my personal privacy. I looked at him with a half smile. I just posted a screenshot of a movie. What privacy of yours did I violate? Wayne's expression gradually became stiff. Suddenly, as if he had realized something, he roared angrily, you did it on purpose, officer. She deliberately guided this. She was deliberately provoking me. Unfortunately, as I said before, posting a screenshot of a movie was nothing serious. As for the people in my WeChat moments who loved to watch the excitement and didn't mind if things got bigger, what did that have to do with me? Wayne couldn't hold his temper, and that had even less to do with me. Half a year later, he finally got out of prison, but his life had been completely changed. Now he and Luna seemed to have become a pair of bitter enemies. Wayne resented Luna for deliberately stringing him along before and forcing him to leave the wedding halfway through. And Luna looked down on Wayne for going to prison, yet she had to stay with him and was unwilling to break up with him. I met Luna again in a shopping mall. I was shopping, and she was shopping too. The difference was that her belly was slightly bulging. As soon as Luna saw me, she immediately straightened her already showing belly and said in a sarcastic tone, "What a coincidence. It's you. How have you been recently? I heard that you still haven't found a boyfriend. Shopping alone? It seems that you're still single. I know several men with good conditions. Do you want me to introduce them to you?" I smiled and put on a puzzled look. Did you and Wayne get married? I knew quite a few people in Wayne's circle. If he got married, I would definitely know about it. Luna's face darkened, and she said coldly, if it weren't for you who got Wayne into prison, we would have been married long ago. However, don't worry. I'm not as vicious as you. Even though Wayne went to prison, I'll stay with him through thick and thin. He's really nice to me now. He definitely won't leave me at the wedding venue this time. When talking about the wedding venue, there was obvious excitement and smugness in Luna's eyes. I shook my head speechlessly, not quite understanding what she was thinking. Since she still wanted to be with Wayne, why did she choose to get pregnant before getting married? I rarely had the kindness to remind her, did you two get the marriage certificate? I didn't like Luna, but I hated Wayne even more. However, unexpectedly, my words directly irritated her. She glared at me angrily. It's none of your business. You'd better take care of yourself. You were abandoned before. Maybe no man is willing to marry you now. I know that in this world, some people like to judge a person's success by whether they get married or not. In their eyes, the only value of a woman may be to get married and have children. In their minds, an unmarried female doctor might not even be as good as Xiao Feng, who dropped out of high school but has already had children. Over the past year, my mom has actually urged me many times. She would send me photos of blind date candidates at the slightest provocation. Obviously, many women are unfortunate in marriage, but they still think that marriage is the best destination for a woman. After hanging up the phone again, I looked at Mike beside me apologetically and said, sorry. That was my mom's call just now. I'll continue teaching you how to make tiramisu now. During this year, I've become quite familiar with Mike. Besides, we live close to each other, and through frequent interactions, we've become friends. When my mom called, I was teaching him how to make tiramisu. Mike rolled up his sleeves, revealing the muscles on his forearms. He lowered his head and was seriously whipping the cream. Hearing what I said, He raised his head slightly and said in a deep voice, "Was she urging you to get married again?" I smiled helplessly. Given how often my mom called, Mike had already encountered this many times. Suddenly, Mike stopped what he was doing. His pitch-black eyes stared at me. "What do you think of me?" I was stunned for a moment. "Are you joking?" Mike laughed, and his originally gentle demeanor suddenly became very aggressive. "Yvonne, didn't you notice? I've been playing the long game. If I didn't like you, would I deliberately create chances to run into you time and time again?" I realized belatedly that indeed during this period of time I could see him almost every day. Either I met him when he just came back from running in the morning, or I saw him going out when I took out the trash in the evening. Especially when I went out to buy breakfast in the morning and came back, I would always see him coming back from his morning run. After exercising, he exuded a masculine hormonal aura all over. In the same small elevator, with soft panting sounds in my ears and his chest rising and falling slightly. It turned out that none of these were coincidences. Mike curled his lips. "I even deliberately showed my collar before, but I didn't expect that you didn't notice at all." My face flushed red all of a sudden. How could I not have noticed? Every morning after exercising, he gave off a very masculine and alluring feeling. It's just that I really hadn't thought about it in that way at all before. So he was actually flirting with me. There was a faint smile in Mike's eyes. It seems that what I did had some effect after all. I coughed awkwardly. "I need to think about it." Mike said, "It's okay. You can take your time. Men are all the same." He said he'd let me take my time, but his actions were completely different. When I saw Mike wearing a bathrobe with the collar open, revealing his smooth muscle lines, I was completely dumbfounded. Mike said calmly, "The sewer in my house is blocked. Can I borrow your bathroom?" I looked at him expressionlessly, making sure that I wasn't mistaken about his intentions. Wasn't this the plot often used by female protagonists in novels and TV dramas? Seeing that I was in a daze, Mike reminded me, "Yvonne, are you sure you want to leave me standing at the door like this?" I immediately came to my senses, made way for him, and said helplessly, "Come in first." After about 10 minutes, Mike came out of the bathroom as if nothing had happened. "Thank you for letting me use your bathroom. Sorry to bother you." After washing his face, his skin looked much better. So in my eyes, Mike seemed to have a filter on him at that moment. Admittedly, after getting along with him for this year, I did have a good impression of him. I looked directly at him for a few seconds, blocked his way, and said with a half-smile, "Are you trying to seduce me with your good looks? I think you might as well just take off your bathrobe." Mike nodded thoughtfully, then really put his hands on his waist and gently pulled at the belt. I was so scared that I jumped up and quickly went to stop him. The bravado I had before completely disappeared at this moment. "I told you to take it off, but you really were going to do it." A soft chuckle escaped from Mike's throat. His voice was low and full of temptation. "Then do you want to touch it?" With that, he put one hand on mine and slowly slid it inside the collar. I felt that I might have been bewitched by his voice. At this moment, my mind went blank, and all I could feel was the hard and hot touch under my hand. "Does it feel good?" I felt a warm breeze by my ear, and my face flushed red again. I quickly withdrew my hand and then ran outside. Only when I had run halfway did I subconsciously realize that this was my house. Why was I running? So I turned back halfway and pushed the laughing Mike out. That night, the 3 words, "Does it feel good?" kept echoing in my dream. When I woke up, I looked at the ceiling lifelessly. But to be honest, it did feel good. A few days later, Mike actually invited me to his house for dinner, saying that it was to thank me for the help I had provided before. Well, it's tit for tat. He borrowed things from me before, and now he's the one treating me to dinner. I gave him a meaningful look. I didn't expect that he was such a scheming guy. Mike felt a bit embarrassed under my gaze and pretended to cough before adding, "I'll be cooking by myself." I smiled and said, "Okay." His house was very tidy, and there was a fitness area in the living room. No wonder he had such a good figure even though he was an illustrator. Suddenly, a chat message reminder sound came from the study. Mike frowned, and he seemed a bit hesitant. I reminded him, "Do you want to go and check it out?" Mike looked at me, and I actually felt that he was a bit shy at this moment. Seeing him like this, I suddenly became very curious, so I asked, "Can I take a look at your study?" Mike looked a bit conflicted, but finally, he nodded. Sure. Only when I walked in did I understand why Mike had been so hesitant. It turned out that the wallpaper on his computer desktop was a painting of me. He had drawn me very beautifully. I had never seen myself looking so good before. I was bathed in the sunlight in the kitchen, concentrating on making desserts, giving a warm and sweet feeling. "Did you draw this?" I looked at Mike with a smile. Although he still looked calm at this moment, I could still sense the momentary stiffness when I saw the computer desktop. So the smile on my face became even more unrestrained. Originally, I felt a bit reserved in front of him, but now I somehow felt relieved and became very relaxed. I joked, "Isn't this the scene when I taught you how to make desserts last time? You drew my portrait without my permission. Tell me, how are you going to compensate me?" Mike slightly lifted his thin lips, and his low voice carried a hint of ambiguity. "Well, how about compensating you with myself?" I snorted softly. "That's not enough. You have to explain clearly first. When did you start liking me? And why do you like me? Only if I'm satisfied with your answers will I agree." Mike bent down slightly and looked at me level with his deep eyes. "I don't know either. But when I came to my senses, the character I drew had already become you. Love rises without a reason and grows deeper and deeper. Are you satisfied with this answer?" He almost whispered the last sentence right into my ear. I glared at him angrily, blushing with embarrassment. "Just talk. Why get so close?" Mike smiled slightly. "Don't you agree? Then I'll continue answering." I quickly interrupted him. Agreed, agreed. If I let him continue talking, I would be the one suffering. My ears would be even hotter. Mike looked at me with a smile. Seeing that I was a bit uncomfortable and was just about to say something, I suddenly felt a warmth on my lips. Softer than tiramisu. All right, there's no hope. Now not only my ears were hot, but my face was even hotter. Since I got together with Mike, I've realized the advantages of being a freelancer. No wonder men like their wives to be housewives. I like it too. It feels so good to be greeted by someone when I come home every day and to have someone help me massage and carry things. "Baby, you've worked hard. I've prepared dinner for you." I raised the dessert in my hand. "I also bought you the tiramisu that you like." Mike curled the corners of his mouth into a smile. "This is my favorite." With that, he lowered his head and kissed me. It really felt like he was savoring tiramisu carefully. Well, by the time we were ready to eat, the food had already gone cold. Half a year after I got together with Mike, Wayne, whom I hadn't seen for a long time, showed up in front of me again. At this time, he didn't look as high-spirited as before at all. There was only the bitterness of being tortured by life on his face. As soon as he saw me, just like a drowning man grasping the last straw, he pleaded bitterly, "Yvonne, Luna is crazy. She's out of her mind." I hadn't paid attention to the affairs between Wayne and Luna anymore. It turned out that during this period of time, their affairs were so dramatic. At first, I kindly reminded Luna to remember to get the marriage certificate, but in the end, she still didn't take my words to heart. She thought that having a child would solve everything. So after discovering that Wayne had an ambiguous relationship with a female colleague at the company, she began to pester him relentlessly, forcing Wayne to go and get the marriage certificate with her. She even waited downstairs at his company every day. Anyway, because of this matter, many people got to know about it. For anyone who cared about their reputation, such behavior was absolutely unacceptable. Wayne had completely lost his affection for his first love, whom he once cherished deeply. Originally, because of his imprisonment, there were already many conflicts between the two of them, and now all of them erupted. What had happened to me before happened to Luna again. Because of a phone call, Wayne would abandon the sick Luna and go to care about other women. However, Luna was more ruthless than I was. As soon as Wayne left to find someone else, Luna would follow closely behind to catch him in the act. Wayne was driven to the point where he couldn't bear it anymore and planned to get a divorce. But how could Luna accept it? In the past, she would often cut her wrists and attempt suicide at the slightest provocation. Now her behavior was even more extreme. She not only threatened to commit suicide and make a scene but also vowed to take their child and die together. She even threatened to set the house on fire. In this situation, how dare Wayne get a divorce? But I don't know what he was thinking. Now, after a year, he actually started to miss the kindness I had shown him. How despicable. Mike walked up to me, put his arm around my shoulders. For some reason, he looked a bit excited. Stay away from my girlfriend. Wayne looked up in surprise. Girlfriend? Mike gave him a cold glance and said in a slightly deep voice, yes. If you come to harass my girlfriend again in the future, be careful that I won't be polite. You too. Wayne had an expression as if I had betrayed him, which made me feel sick to my stomach. I really didn't know how he had the nerve. However, it takes a rogue to catch a rogue. Luna had a strange smile on her face and called out sweetly, honey, I'm here. Wayne shuddered violently and slowly turned around. Luna? Why are you here? Luna curled the corners of her mouth. Honey, others already have boyfriends. Don't come to bother them anymore in the future. With that, she dragged Wayne away forcefully without giving him any chance to argue. I watched Wayne come over inexplicably and then saw them leave just as inexplicably. I was in a very complicated mood. However, what was the reason for Mike's faint excitement just now? I nudged him with my elbow. Tell me. Honestly, why were you so excited just now? Mike coughed and there was unconcealable joy in his tone. I've wanted to do this for a long time. When this scumbag came to find you before, I wanted to stand beside you as your boyfriend. I looked deeply at him, then raised the corners of my mouth into a smile and slowly took his hand. Well? Congratulations on getting what you wanted.